Welcome back to Daily Connections. So tell me, when you see a cute pooch on the street, what do you do? And if you have kids who see a dog they want to approach, what do they do? You might be surprised to know that there is a right and a wrong way to be introduced to a pet. Whether you're a dog owner or simply a dog lover, our next guest has some tips that you'll definitely want to consider. Colleen Pelar is a trainer, and she has joined us along with her pet Edzo. Colleen is the co-owner of All About Dogs training facility, as well as the author of Living with Kids and Dogs. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you for having me, Meredith.
A lot of important questions when you're meeting and greeting a dog, and the proper way to do it, the proper way to begin it. And these are rules that both adults and children should follow?
Yes, truly. It would be best if everyone could greet a dog in ways that make the dog comfortable.
Okay, so talk to me. Let's talk about it a little bit, and then we'll set up a demonstration.
Okay.
Where I meet Edzo.
Where you meet
Such
Edzo.
a cutie.
Okay, there are basically 3 steps. The first would be that you'd ask the owner, that we would never approach or touch a dog without the owner's permission.
Okay.
And then next you'd ask the dog, and we need to understand a little bit of dog body language in order to know whether the dog said yes or no. So we can't just ask the dog and assume it was always a yes. Okay. And then finally we need to pet the dog using appropriate petting techniques. Apparently, someone needs some petting.
Oh.
So.
All right, well, let's step back for a minute. So first thing you want to do is ask the owner. How should you do that?
Well, you would want to stand a distance away. You'd want to be at least 5 feet away from the owner so that if the answer were no, you wouldn't be up in the dog's space. So if you just stop and ask, may I pet your dog? And it's really important to know that sometimes the answer is no, and that's not really anything about you. And for kids especially.
Nobody should be judged for that. It's better, if you have any questions and you have your own dog, it's better to say no when a stranger approaches.
Yes, and if your dog is at all uncomfortable, it's okay to say no. But we do need to make sure kids understand that if someone says no to them, they're not saying, you're not a nice friend for dogs. They're saying, my dog isn't comfortable.
Well, you had a great analogy. You were saying, you know, it's just like if you call a friend and ask them to come over and play, they can't always do that. So it's the same type of situation with the dog.
It is. And it's hard for kids to understand that, but it's a really important distinction.
So it's interesting. You say after you talk to the owner, and if the owner says, yes, you can pet my dog, then ask the dog.
Right. And dogs don't speak in English, so we're obviously using body language. Right. What we would do is you'd curl up your hands into a fist and put it out for the dog to sniff. And dogs are very scent-based.
Really? Okay. So why am I curling my hands up in a fist? Now, that seems aggressive as a human being. If I put my fist out to you, that would seem aggressive.
And with kid groups, I talk about that. When we curl up a hand, we would extend it slowly. We wouldn't want to do anything that could be a punching motion.
Right, right.
But it's actually to protect fingertips, that if there were to be any aggressive incident, we wouldn't want a child's fingers to be exposed.
He's showing off.
I'm
sorry. He is. He's showing off.
Little bit,
so cute.
Little bit needy today.
So
apparently.
That's what it is. It protects the fingers.
Right.
Small children's fingers.
So many nerve endings in there. We wouldn't want any damage. So this is much more protective.
Important.
What are you doing?
Smell is important too, right?
Is. Yes, that's dogs' primary scent, whereas we're very vision-based. Dogs are very scent-based, and so that's how they identify people, who they are, how old they are, all sorts of things like that, and how they tell us apart. So just to put your hand out and let the dog sniff it, that would be what the dog is most interested in doing. So if the dog were to go behind the owner, well, that would be a no.
That's a no. I was just going to say, so how do you know if it's a no?
It's a no if the dog approaches you and does all the wiggling. That's yes. If you get this sort of slightly needy, obnoxious behavior, that's also a yes. It's a little bit rude, but yes.
Now, you've only had Edzo for a few months,
For a few months,
You're
yes.
still going through training with him,
Right.
and he was a rescue,
Right.
correct?
He was a stray in West Virginia, and he wound up being lovely temperament for my family.
And now you're famous on TV. Not so bad.
Yeah, he's not so sure about this whole TV thing.
So if they are wiggly, if they're excited, if they're all over you, then obviously, yes, this is a good time for your child to pet them. If you see them retreat behind the owner, obviously if they make any sounds that seem aggressive, such as a growl or
any
something
barking,
like that.
we would never pet a barking dog, including your own, is what I tell children.
Interesting.
Anytime a dog is barking.
Never pet a barking dog. Hey, sweetheart.
Now he's going to climb up in your lap.
Are you going to? Oh, that's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind. Keep talking to me, though.
So,
that's interesting.
So what we want to know with the dog is the dog feeling social and friendly? And clearly right now Edzo is feeling very social and friendly towards you.
So.
But we could also see sometimes where the dog would be too excited, where it wouldn't be a good idea to pet the dog because he's just pinging around and bouncing off
or
of
jumping
people.
up and down.
Yes. So we want to make sure that both the owner and the dog are comfortable with the interaction before we would move forward. And occasionally, an owner will say yes and a dog will say no. And it's very important for us to know that both said yes and that we wouldn't ever want to pet a dog if the dog said no.
Definitely. Now, you talk about safe ways to touch or pet a dog. Talk to me a little bit about that. What are areas that we should avoid?
Well, first off, the top of the head, there's a blind spot up here that if I were to reach up on top of your head, you'd go, what are you doing up there?
Sure, and that's exactly what a dog does, and then all of a sudden your hand is within his mouth's reach.
Right, you're just hovering over the most dangerous part of a dog. Really clever. So we don't want to come at a dog like this. However, humans are very hardwired to approach with our hands. We just come at things with our hands. So we've already extended our hand out for sniffing. Just flip it over and scratch the dog under the chin.
Underneath the chin.
Or
and that's
on the side of the
interesting
neck.
because my instinct is always like, I don't want to put the hand too close to the mouth. I think that's why a lot of people aim for the top of the head. It's away from the teeth, but their instinct is to look up and to sniff. Interesting. And then you said the back end of a dog too. You got to keep an eye on in terms of the tail.
Right. Tails are just fascinating, especially a curly tail like Edzo's.
Because we don't have them.
Yeah. Yes. People just really like them.
I don't have one. I want to pay attention to his. But you say that can be dangerous, especially for kids.
Right.
Pulling or tapping on a dog's tail, that they're sensitive with that.
Right. We would just want to make sure that we didn't touch any dog that we didn't know their hind end. We would just want to be careful with that. That's often where dogs hold their tension, where we're all jaws, necks, and shoulders. Dogs are jaws and mouths and hind legs and tails.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's interesting.
So
I did not know that.
So we would just stay away from anyone's tail if it wasn't a dog that we knew very, very well. And occasionally your own dog. You know, there are dogs that would just say always, I don't want to have anyone messing with my tail.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So why do you think these steps are so important? I know you were talking earlier about educating parents and children.
Well, I think that
bites in children
bites are huge.
Yeah.
2.8 million American children are bitten each year.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And most of the time it's on the face.
2.8
million. Isn't that incredible? And what happens is most of these bites, Edzo, are from a dog that the child knows well. And so it's not just a strange dog, a dog that you're unfamiliar with, it's a dog that you know.
Yeah.
So what happened was a child intended to gesture kindly and the dog interpreted it as rude or threatening. And so we want to make sure that
and that can affect the child as they grow up.
Absolutely.
Throughout their adult life, definitely.
Absolutely.
So it's important for children to be trained.
Yes, to interact well with dogs so that they can love and have safe, healthy relationships with dogs and really enjoy them. Oh, my heavens.
Well, then let's demonstrate a little bit. I know he's excited to do something.
He is, apparently.
If you stood there, I will pretend, even though I've met Edzo now and we know each other.
So you would stand a distance away and you would say, may I pet your dog?
Okay, so may I pet your dog?
Yes, you may. Could he smell your hand first?
Of course.
And then you would curl
so
up
I'm
your fingers.
Put my...
And so we're going to look to see he approached you. He put his ears back, he put his head down, and he came forward. It was very nice.
Okay.
And now he's busy looking to see if someone else wants to talk to him.
Come here, buddy. So now
he did actually say yes, so then you would just turn your hand over and scratch.
And scratch underneath.
And then he melts for you there.
Aww.
And he's very happy with that.
And I want to keep in mind the areas that I want to avoid, of course, is I don't want to be putting my hands over his head.
Right. So if I were to go in like that, well, I don't know if you can see, but his eyes kind of trailed me and then wanted to see what is happening. Why are you doing that? And he knows me and trusts me, and he was pretty sure nothing bad was going to happen.
Of course, as an owner. So.
But I can show you that if we can just turn him a little. Can you see his face? If I pat on his head, he'll probably blink, 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 and it's sort of rude. It's, oh, you're a good boy.
There you go. You see that?
Oh, such a good boy.
And what does that mean?
It's like, could you stop?
Oh, really?
That's really so rude. And we do that to dogs all the time. It's a very well-intentioned thing that people do.
That's interesting.
But a blinking kind of crouching behavior would be a dog's very polite way of saying, I don't really like that.
Leave me alone. Thank you so much, Colleen.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
That's fabulous. And Edzo, thank you so much for being here, too. He's quite a ham.